would do, it's December 2020, and we've had one hell of a year.
Oof, that's true.
Is have a bit of a chat and a reflection on the year that we've had. We've done a lot of things this year. We've started a podcast. We spoke to some incredible reinventors. And I just wanted to take the time to reflect on the stuff that we've learned, the things that surprised us, and our biggest takeaways for the year. So what struck you the most this year? Anything?
Ooh, big question. The thing that struck me the most is that reinvention sits in all of the nooks and crannies around us. So we have been able to speak to so many interesting people from around the world, across different sectors and industries. I think for me is that reinvention is all around us. It sits in all of the nooks and is crannies a word?
Yeah, it is a word.
It's like the second time I was like, oh my god, did I say crannies or grannies?
It's so good. Yeah.
Oh my god, okay, third time lucky. If you're ever going to do a bloopers version, like it's
The
just
crannies have to be in there.
Crannies have to, and then what was the other one?
Show and shine.
Show and shine.
That was my favorite.
Can we please do a bloopers?
So good.
Oh my god, okay.
Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Let's go.
That's a big question. If I think about it, I think for me, it helped me understand that reinvention is all around us. And it is something that we're all capable of doing. So what I mean by that is, so we've managed to speak to so many different types of people from around the world, across different sectors and industries, with different backgrounds, with different belief systems and plans for the future. And they're talking about reinvention in a way that we can all relate to.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was going to happen, you know? Like, I was kind of perhaps imagining that certain reinvention stories would be interesting, but wouldn't feel attainable to me.
Yeah.
And something that I could, you know, be able to take on board and start to look at what my reinvention dialogue or narrative is.
I think for me, the biggest gift that this podcast has given me, at least, is the ability to integrate everything that you've just been talking about into my own way of working, and how I see the world too. I feel much smarter, of course, talking to all these amazing experts, which is so great. But just being able to take the little things that feel really actionable and really doable and apply them, which I've been really surprised by.
Yes, I know, right?
Yeah. And
the other thing that I love is the conversations I've had with friends and family around each episode.
Yeah.
So my coach Jess, she's a legend, and I see her once or twice a week, and whenever we release an episode, we'll have a conversation about it, and she'll be like, Ange, oh my god, I need to debrief with you about this topic.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's really nice to hear what each conversation has brought up for other people, and then you get to have a conversation and be like, oh, interesting, you saw it this way, you heard it this way. I actually didn't realize that. And you know, great things always come from a conversation and a dialogue, and kind of just seeing where that takes things. And I think that's great, because I feel like our conversations on the show can now occur outside and beyond the show as well, which is great.
I know.
I love that.
We're so lucky, aren't we?
Oh my god, I love it.
So what do you think the lesson that you've learned, the biggest lesson you learned this year?
Okay, yeah. Biggest lesson that I learned this year is I'm going to make it a twofold.
Yeah.
To not wait too long. So kind of bend, right? Do things now. Not sit around and wait for too long, because the moment will pass, and you know, the longer we wait, the harder it feels to do something. And then the second part is that you can do anything. I know that sounds really cheesy, and we hear that a lot, you know, motivational speakers, where it's like, you can do it. I mean, Nike, that was is it still their tagline? I don't even know.
Yeah.
But I think it helped me remind myself that so much more capable than I believe I am sometimes, and all of us as well. Yeah. What about you?
I guess the biggest learning that I had this year was definitely from our podcasts, but around just some of the things people said and the key messages. So, when we spoke to Lauren about death and dying, it has completely changed how I have viewed my relationship with death. And being in a COVID world where we're so far away from family. I mean, you and I both have family overseas. And with the vaccine around the corner, it's obviously providing people with a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. But in lieu of that, having parents who are aging on the other side of the world and thinking about what they actually would love to have, and not be placed in old age homes and not be taken care of in a traditional way in a system that doesn't actually look after them the way that I would want to.
Has your conversation with your parents changed on that topic?
I think it's just been a lot kinder. Listening to them and what they actually really want to do without trying to impose what I think should happen from my really limited, point of view, being of a different generation, thinking about death as being something really far away that's happening to me, but actually it isn't. So I find that, in that episode, that's really stuck with me. The other one too that I was talking to someone the other day about was production miles versus food miles. Came up in conversation. So in Ben's episode, we spoke about the fact that we care so much about food miles. It's so trendy. It's been so trendy for, the past 10 years. But no one ever talks about production miles of anything else, even though whenever we look at an object, it's always said that it's built in China or Taiwan or somewhere else from where we live, and has traveled all over the world for it. And we don't have visibility of that.
Absolutely not. Oh crap. I lost the thought I was going to... Damn it. This was going to be a smooth one. No idea what I was going to say. No.
That's all good. So I think bits and pieces from conversations I find happen and occur in everyday moments where I'm reminded again of these things. And that's kind of being like little lessons all over the place on helping me look at the world in a completely different way.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? What stood out for you the most, do you think?
I guess the biggest thing is that with all of the people that we've spoken to, and I mean, these are rock stars that have been on TED Talks, multiple TED Talks, and have been all over the news and in media, that they're all just regular people.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think sometimes in society, and even in our large organizations, when we look at people with titles, we give them power and they sit in positions of power and authority. And because of that, they become these celebrities or figments that feel too far away from us. And we kind of put them on these pedestals, which they themselves don't even appreciate because they're just trying to do what they want to do. And it's been so great to relate to each and every single individual that we've spoken to, just as humans, not just about what they're trying to do, but how they see the world and why. And it's really humbling to begin these conversations with them.
Isn't it? Like, I remember our first episode with Tammy.
Yeah.
And Tammy, joining us from Florida on Zoom in, I think her bedroom or living room, not quite sure. And she had these kick-ass fairy lights in the background. So, and there's this chick who's just, badass, chick in tech, right? Crap, I'm losing all my words. I'll start that again. What was I saying?
Tammy in her bedroom, tech rock star.
Tech rock star.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Just how everyone's so human.
Human.
Yeah.
This really reminds me of our first ever episode that we recorded with Tammy. And Tammy was joining us from Florida, and she was on Zoom. I think it was her bedroom or her living room, not quite sure, and she had the fairy lights in the background. And here is this rock star tech chick. having this amazing conversation with us. And it felt like we were literally sitting down with her in her living room with the fairy lights and just having a heart-to-heart conversation.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because it just allows us to connect with people on a slightly different level, which is so generous. I think there's been a lot of generosity in this space as well, which is nice because everyone has been so keen to share their story with us.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, having a medium like this that demystifies some of these things that feel so far away from us really helps bring us closer to what is possible for us to do in our own lives.
There's a lot of room for opportunity.
Yeah.
I think every time I walk away from an episode, there's something where I'm like, ooh, I'm going to put that in my pocket. I'm going to put that in my pocket, which is why I love the idea of our micro challenges now. Because it's a really nice active reminder for me to go, okay, there was something here that really rung true for me. And then I want to take into my everyday life. And then I also then have the conversations with people, you know, where I'm like asking friends about what to do with stale bread. I'm like, you know, like we have so much bread in the house. Help. What do I do, right? Besides putting it in the freezer, because my freezer is full of sliced bread. And so we made these, baking story. So I made these croutons and I was like, I'm going to make galore like bread croutons here. Season them, put fresh herbs in them, and they tasted like the best chips you get at the pub.
Oh, right.
Oh my God, we just literally ate them as they were instead of actually using them.
Well, who would have known?
I know, right?
Yeah. That's really awesome. So tell me, what's coming up for the podcast next year?
Ooh, so many exciting things. One thing that I know you and me want to do is kind of sit down, do a little bit of a reflection and kind of think about the year ahead. And I think the thing for me is to be able to continue to have these conversations, to continue to be able to find the connections between them, but most importantly, looking at the integration. I think that's where the gold kind of sits, is that integration of our conversations and being able to think about, okay, if we're talking about all these practical means of accessing reinvention or applying reinvention or seeking reinvention, is how can we all do it? And making it a bit more, not more practical, but really letting those things shine a little bit. Because I love being practical. I can't help it. I'm always like, ooh, I want tips, tricks, like what can I take away? And maybe there's an opportunity to be able to do that a little bit more.
Well, I mean, we are talking about releasing a toolkit.
Yes.
Which we're very excited about. You know, designed from the things that we learn in each episode. So stay tuned for that. Coming up next year.
So exciting.
I'm also excited to speak to the variety of guests that we've got coming up next year and what's happening for them in 2021. Given that we're not over, this pandemic isn't over, even though we're sitting in sunny Australia and we can all go for brunches and restaurants again, the rest of the world is, for the most part, still under lockdowns, under lots of restrictions, in a really crazy time of year, which is the time when we're all supposed to be together. So recognizing that we're all still in a really, really interesting time. Next year's shows are going to be even more telling of the type of future that we need to create given where we've come from, and I'm really excited about that.
I'm really excited. You know what, I actually had this conversation with someone quite recently around 2021. Everyone's like, let's just finish this year 2020, let's put it away, bottom drawer, let's forget it ever happened. And I'm like, hang on a second, there's actually a lot we can learn. And I feel like 2020 was a big pause button, and I guess the vibe I want to take into 21 is growth and expansion. Those are the two words that come to mind.
Nice.
Where it's kind of like, we had 2020 to stop, reflect, reprioritize, and then let's take that into the new year and kind of go, okay, where are the opportunities? What do we want to do with them as well?
I love having words for New Year's. That's a thing that I do.
Nice.
I always choose a word as well.
Oh my God. What did you pick for this year?
Oh, God, I can't even remember.
Was it pandemic? Lockdown? No.
I love your ideas about growth and expansion, especially because how we do that needs to look really different. Traditionally, we'd look at those words or think about those words and think about like, oh, I'm going to grow into my career and my new roles and it's going to look a certain way. But, you know, we're not going to wake up on New Year's Day in 2021 and go, oh, wow, 2020 is over.
Yeah, no.
It's all over. It's all done. Everyone keeps saying that, you know, 2020 this, 2020 that it's like, well, 2021 is going to look pretty much the same, I think.
I think so too. And I think that's okay. I think that's completely fine because I feel like what the year has taught us is to be patient and resilient.
Yeah.
You know, and the two need to walk hand in hand. And then we can use those two things as tools to grow and expand next year. But it's not one of those things where it's going to happen on the 1st of January.
No.
You know, it kind of give it time.
That's right. And I think the other really important thing that's come out of this year is to be kind.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, there's always those, you know, sayings and things, quotes, you know, around being kind to people because you don't know what they're going through. And we've all going through a massive trauma.
Yeah. It's what Keisha said, your own teacup.
That's right.
Be really mindful of how full your own teacup is. And that was my biggest takeaway out of that conversation because that was a killer conversation, right?
Yeah.
And that was the thing where I'm like, oh my God, I always overfill my teacup every single time. And just having that visual reminder, it's like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
You know, we can do this. We can be completely in control of what is in that teacup and how much of it.
Be wonderful. Well, that's an amazing point to end off with to wrap up our year. Thank you so much, Angie.
Oh, was I the guest on the show?
Yeah, but just for being such an awesome host with me. Thank you to Make Studios, our listeners and our guests for helping us create an amazing show, to Calvin, our video editor, who's just a complete whiz with editing stuff over Zoom, which has been such a challenge this year, to my wonderful husband, Marnie, who is recording us right now and helping out with the edits, Patty, who's just helped us with programming, Dan, who has also helped conceptualize the show. It's been an amazing year. There's probably a ton more people I can't even think about in this moment. To the entire Make team for supporting us.
It's been such an awesome, wild ride, and I'm so excited what's going to happen next.